He has proved himself, for he's alive.
No comment.
Robert Oppenheimer was fond of saying, "There are children playing in the street who could solve some of my top problems in physics because they have modes of perception that I lost long ago."
4 p.m. throughout the world, whether we like it or...
No!
The new electronic interdependence recreates the world in the image of a global village. Lucky cocks for whom the audible, visible, nosable, edible world.
And all's well?
The new modes of instantaneous long-distance human communication, radio, telephone, television, are linking the world's peoples in a vast net of electric circuitry that creates new depth and breadth of personal involvement in events and breaks down the old traditional boundaries that make specialization possible. As the audience becomes a participant in the total electric drama, the classroom can become a scene in which the audience performs an enormous amount of work.
All dictators inflating bureaucracy do it with the cry,
"Down with bureaucracy!"
Personal freedom consists largely in having a defense against questions.
Politics offers yesterday's answers to today's questions. The total environment is now the great teacher.
I have a friend. Every time she sees an empty telephone booth, she ducks in to make a call.
Even science fiction is now very far behind what's actually happening. It may very well be that in our conscious inner lives, the interplay among our senses is what constitutes our sense of touch. Perhaps touch is not just skin contact with things, but the very life and encounter of things in the mind. Without an understanding of media grounds, we cannot hope to achieve a contemporary awareness of the world in which we live. Our very concepts of media analysis are limited to content analysis and unrelated to the new configurations of electronic media. Our sensory levels have already changed drastically since television. The visual component in our lives has dropped dramatically. The visceral, proprioceptive, kinetic, and auditory modes of response have risen to compensate. This sensory shift has forced us to reevaluate practically every thought, every action, and every institution formerly taken for granted.
You mean life isn't a function?
Rattle on you.
Education must shift from instruction, from the imposing of stencils on brain pans, as it were, to discovery, to probing and exploring, and to the recognition of the language of forms. We have now to accept the fact and responsibility that the entire human environment is an artifact, an art form, something that can be staged and manipulated like showbiz.
Now someone's in him.
Jobs represent a relatively recent pattern of work organization. From the 15th to the 17th centuries, there is a steady progress of fragmentation of the stages of work that constitute mechanization and specialism. These procedures cannot serve for survival or sanity in this new time. Unhappily,
I done my best when I was lad.
Many well-intentioned political reform programs that aim at the alleviation of suffering caused by unemployment betray an ignorance of the true nature of media influence.
When automated electronic production reaches full potential, it will be just about as cheap to turn out 1 million differing objects as 1 million exact duplicates. The only limit on production and consumption will be the human imagination. Unhappily, many well-intentioned political reform programs that aim at the alleviation of suffering caused by unemployment betray an ignorance of true media influence. America has the largest backlog
Technology in the world. Its educational and industrial establishments, built by print and methods derived from print, are vast and pervasive.
Quote.
Backward countries
Close quote.
now have a huge advantage over us. We now stand in relation to electronic technology much as we once stood in relation to print technology. What we plan to do or can do to brainwash ourselves of this obsolete inheritance has yet to be faced. As design and communications mold the environment, so they shape human perceptions, which, processed at speeds consistent with electronic information movement, induce changes in human institutions at a rate that for the first time in human history makes change perceptible. And addressed her in a languid, sleepy voice.
We shape up.
Who are you? Said the caterpillar.
I hardly know, sir, just the president. At least I knew who I was this morning. But I think I must have been changed several times since then.
We're getting in close to
You have no arm.
What'll happen when intelligence is recognized?
Drop this jiggery puss.
Ray,